Some Linux distributions try to be everything to everybody. These distributions, in their own way, are very good in many respects. They want to have every possible option and every possible thing so that every possible person could possibly be a user. But is there something to be said for a distribution that goes the other direction and says we know exactly what we want to do, and if you're not our target audience, that's perfectly okay with us? Well, there is such a distribution out there, and we are going to be talking about KaOS as a distribution today, which follows this general thread. Thanks for checking out this video from Switched-to-Linux, where we like to look at Linux distributions, talk about switching to Linux, and other things around the free and open source world. So definitely subscribe to the channel. Upcoming, we have some fun things. There's a nice box behind me there. I have a Pine phone right here. I'm going to be talking about that in some upcoming videos. We also picked up another smartphone to take a look at a few other upcoming Lineage ROMs and other alternative ROMs. So those types of videos are coming as well. Of course, some of those are already on the channel, and depending on when you're watching those, some of those might be there. So subscribe for content about free and open source software, switching away from big tech and things like that. But today we're going to talk about KaOS OS, which I really liked KaOS because it really does an excellent job of knowing what it wants to be. It is a true goal-driven distribution in that it knows what it wants to do, and if that's not your thing, that's perfectly okay, but they know what they're doing, they know where they're going. So the first part of this video, I'm just going to walk through their website and talk about what their directions are and talk about the pros and cons of what they're doing. And then the last part of the video, we're actually going to dive on into the distribution itself. We're going to have a look at what it looks like and some of the features. So with that, let's go ahead and have a look at what the website looks like over here. So you can head on over to their site, which is kaosx.us. So KaOS, a lean KDE distribution. And indeed, this is a very lean distribution. It is not a distribution which is attempting to cater to every possible user. It does not have every possible application. In fact, they even say, we don't want to give you 20 options for music players. We're happy with 5 or 6 that are completely streamlined to work with our system. So what this means ultimately is that any application you find in the system on KaOS is going to work. It is going to be well vetted within the scope of what they are attempting to do. So a little bit about them first. You'll notice this bold word here, independent. This is not based on Debian. It is not based on Arch. It is not based on Ubuntu or anything else. It is a purely independent distribution. In fact, it is so independent, they care more about KDE than they care about Linux. So they are even open to changing the kernel if the Linux kernel does not give it what it needs. But it does want to use the KDE and the Qt or Qt packaging system. So it is Qt exclusive. There are still a couple of GDK applications, but not a lot. And they've kept that down, really only putting in those they absolutely had to. So let's go ahead and walk through their About page up here so we can see a little bit about what they're doing. So they do talk in here about some people wanting to move away from open source systems. Pay attention to this channel. Pretty soon we're going to have a frog in a pot type thing as I look at setting up a computer on Windows 11, and it's going to show you exactly why I switched to open source operating systems a while back. But that is what these guys have done here. So should any such operating system distribution make the choices of what it believes best? Well, KaOS looks exactly at that respect. I will be upfront in saying this is not the distribution for me personally, but I do love what they're doing, and I love having a goal. I love that I can jump on and look at the distribution and say, okay, I love the idea that you're doing. I'm not necessarily going to follow exactly in that path, but I completely get what you're doing and I 100% support it. And there are applications I would tell somebody, this is the distro you want to use. In fact, I think we're actually going to put this distro on a friend's computer. Here, because it has some back-end software that is going to really work for what he's trying to do on a side business, that they probably do better here than you find on other distributions. Even though we talked about it's probably not the best user-friendly Linux choice, but that is perfectly okay. Now, what they want to do is they are using the Linux kernel, but they're also looking at Illumos kernel if they have to move that direction. I have no idea about what the Illumos kernel happens to be. And so with that, what we're seeing here is they just say, we want to stay with Qt Toolkit, we want to stick with KDE Plasma, and we're going to stay with a kernel that is completely free and open source. Of course, part of this is possibly the fact that they just don't want to have all of the proprietary stuff thrown into their package. Now, they say here by July of 2013, that's of course 11 years ago, they got 1,500 packages, and that was their goal. And they're not looking to be a distribution with the maximum amount of packages possible inside their distribution. They say over here they are focused on KDE and Qt. They're not focused on anything else, but there are a couple of instances where the GTK applications are available, but they are always going to stay limited. Here they just talk about the basic repositories. This is fairly common, and particularly if you're familiar with like Fedora or Debian or something. They have a core, which is the basic communication, the main for all your libraries, your applications for any of those, and then build is where packages start, and this is kind of where they are working towards. Now, the target user, they say they want to target users who specifically want to use Plasma on newer systems. They're not looking, in fact, in my opinion, they're probably not looking at gamers. You can let me know for yourself, but they actually have a statement down here. I don't know if it's on this page or another page where they're talking about the number of applications required to get Steam to run or Wine to run or things like that. And so they're really not focused on that general ideology of pushing games necessarily. They want probably more of a productive system and a more modern layout. They have no 32-bit software at all for this. So hardware requirements, they're just talking about what is possible, down to 8 gigabytes, 25 is recommended, 1 gigabyte is available, 2 gigabytes is a better experience, of course, using anything better, and of course, a 64-bit processor. So it is a rolling distribution. So you install it once and you don't have to go back and reinstall it again. Here they talk about the 32-bit applications, which are missing. They talk here about Android SDK, Wine, and Steam are the best known packages that require 150 to 200 extra support packages. They say we're not interested in supporting all of this. So we are not worried about those particular things. It is not an Arch-based distribution, although it does use Pacman as its package manager. This is because the way they're doing things, it makes the most sense for to use Pacman. And so if you're familiar with Pacman by using Arch, you're going to be very at home inside of KaOS. Just be aware it's not Arch. It is a complete independent operating system. And they do talk here, while it is a rolling distribution, it is not a bleeding edge distribution. That being said, it is not going to have the absolute 100% latest package for the sake of being the latest package. They hold things back roughly 6 weeks in order to make sure that you have the best overall user experience. And that really is where they are getting at over in the layout here. So very similar to Manjaro in that respect. Now, they also say down here, and it is down here, I think somewhere in here, where they're talking about the limited number of software. They are not interested in necessarily giving you every possible software option. They just want to give you a couple to choose from, but everything inside of their system is going to work. Also on their site, they do have a user forum. So if you are having some issues, you can jump on over here. And you can see there's some stuff in here from, everything from, 10 years ago to 5 hours ago. So you can see that there are certainly some issues going on over here. This guy says, hey, problems on KaOS in a VirtualBox. I had problems in a VirtualBox. We are doing our test today in GNOME boxes, which works a lot better. If you are curious as to what packages are available in here, you can go ahead and do this. So I know, for example, LibreOffice is an available package. So you can install, software there. You can just kind of look through the package and see what is here. They have it built based on they have it here listed based on the core ideas. So here's your core, your build, your main, and your apps. So you can go ahead and see what they are. And if you click on here, you'll see what the repo is, what the size is, the date of the change, and the repository list. So that's very nice. And they have just enough documentation to get you started, but not enough to overwhelm you. And overall, I found their documentation is pretty good. Well, from here, though, let's go ahead and look at the distribution itself. So we will go ahead and get logged in and see what KaOS looks like. So here we are on the desktop, and you can see that it's a very nice build of the modern Plasma 6. They have the floating bar on the side, and you can see here's your basic menu, and we have our power options, we have our lock screen, sticky notes, calculator, desktop switcher, and then our files, our Kate, our web browser. You'll notice that the web browser they're using is Falcon because this one is the one that works best under Qt. And I think there are a few other web browser options, but we'll go ahead and have a look at that. Of course, they don't have a lot of your main ones where they, because a lot of your browsers are using GTK and not Qt. And because of that, well, they have a few issues. So let's have a look at the options that we have right out of the box. We start out, we have customize, we have packaging, wallpapers, docs, advanced about, news, and then we can quit. And then under our customization, we can set just a variety of different options that otherwise you have to dig through your settings panel to find. So it is very simple in that respect. You click each one of these open, and it's going to open up the application style. This is the same thing you will find inside of your full system settings, but they've just here isolated them out to make them a lot easier to find. I believe I have everything set still on the original system defaults. I didn't change anything here that I know of, but you can see here that we have a variety of different options to choose from that all look pretty nice. And then here's your mouse behavior over here. So left-handed mode, and then you can press left and right buttons for middle click and things like that. Here's your icon set and virtual desktops. Now, one of the things here under screen settings, under the display, we are actually running this under X and not under Wayland. And for the reason for that, let's see if I can get into the about the system here. The reason for this is that on GNOME boxes in this setup, Wayland is still not working for the full screen. Now, of course, this was fixed on my last review looking at Plasma 6 on Neon. I had that same initial problem, but then when KDE pushed out the next update, I think it was the 6.01, that actually fixed the full screening on Wayland on GNOME boxes. But this is the exact same computer, the exact same software, everything the same. And on this, I still cannot full screen in Wayland. So we did drop down to X. It is Wayland by default, X as an option. We can see our Linux kernel here is 6.7.9, and you can see it's running the Ryzen 5 3550U processor with, it has here 6 gigs of RAM, which is what I dedicated for the RAM inside of our GNOME box here. Let's go ahead and have a look at our system monitor as well, just before we get diving too far deep in here. I just want to see what the memory looks like. So you can see here it's using 2 gigabytes of memory roughly. It has 10 gigs of disk space used out of a total of 40. And you can see our CPUs sitting there at 60, 70. Part of that might be the fact that it's sharing the CPU with the screen recorder right now. Here's the applications currently running. And here's some historical data. And the process is down here. So you can see the Plasma shell is, is it Corosio? I'm not sure what that package is. system monitor. These are the ones taking the most memory in our system. All right, so there is what we have as far as our setup. Here's your packaging. So if you wanted to look for web browsers, you can add Firefox, Google Chrome, Opera, or Otter. Those are the ones that are easy to add and install. As far as email clients, we have Kmail, we have Mozilla. I don't think we have an email otherwise, do we? We have a syncing client. No, it does not look like they give us an email client out of the box. I don't know. Are people still using email clients other than power users, or is most people using your web browsers? Here we have some neat options, and I found this was fascinating. Lightworks is actually in here. So if you're looking at a good distribution for trying out some video editing, this might be a good one. I have no idea what Avidmux is. That one might be an amazing one. I don't know. Lightworks is a really good one. It's hard to get set up in some instances. Of course, we have Kdenlive and OpenShot as well. As far as music players, here we have Alyssa, we have Strawberry, Cantata, and QMMP, which is the one you can theme up looking just like your Winamp. Here we have Scrooge, Sigil, Scribus, and Focusrite. Good applications on those. Here's your wallpapers. So you can go ahead and scroll down through here if you want to change your wallpaper to something else. You can just select which wallpaper you want and download it. I'm not really in love with any of those. I kind of like the original background one. Probably the only one, that one I might go for, that one, maybe this one. Let's just see how this works. Just go ahead and download this one. See if it gives us the option to auto install it right out of the box. That's latest. There's also popular, oldest, and downloaded ones there as well. So you can sort by a couple different options. You're not limited just to those. So here I can set the wallpaper. There it is. Look at that. Okay, that is looking pretty nice. You'll notice, remember, the floating bar here in Plasma 6. If something goes near it, it goes full screen. Otherwise, it floats. All right, and here's docs. So here's just some information. Here's additional kernels. So remember, the kernel was, what is it? Was that 6.7? I think is what it had. You can actually install other kernels. So by default, it has the current 6X, but I think they have an LTS if I remember as well. I believe I remember something about you can read an LTS, but you can adjust your Linux kernels as well. They have documentation on that. Let's go ahead and drop that down there. Here's NVIDIA stuff. Here's Pacman information. I think all of these might pull up. Yeah, all these pull up the web browser. So here's your guide to Pacman. All right. So under Advanced, here we have our firewall, energy, system daemons, KDE wallet, network management. You can add users, configure the search, Pacman cache, and set your default apps. So all this stuff is easy on this menu here. Oh, gross. Yeah, this is the application was taking all the memory. So like, what is that application? Oh, it's just our default one. That should go better once we finish it out. And here is all the information we kind of went through already. Just all this is on that About page. Really nice information. So as far as other pre-installed applications, let's just walk through those. We have Kate, Compare. We have LibreOffice. If I remember correctly, they gave us the choice as to do we want to install a Office suite or not, and I opted to install LibreOffice. I believe that was an install option that we had. You can see everything else is very much Plasma and KDE, as one might expect. But we do have a few fun options for things. That's weird. Hold on. We actually have Simple Screen Recorder over here. I did not install this. It is installed by default, but they're going Wayland, and Simple Screen Recorder doesn't work under Wayland unless they have done something. We're going to test that at the end of this video. We're going to see. Of course, let's go ahead and double check, make sure it's working right now since we're virtualizing. So we're capturing a screen recorder inside of virtualization. Now we're going to try and capture the screen again on more virtualization. So we are definitely here entering. There we are. There we go. It works. So we are definitely now entering Inception territory here. Okay, let's go ahead and pause, save the recording. And those, by default, I think should drop under video. Of course, we got to change the place where that dropped to. Let me go ahead and get rid of the hidden directories there. That's Alt-Dot if you are on Plasma. Here's this. My guess is it did not record audio, but we'll see. So there you go. That works. All right. And let's see what other applications we have over here. These are your basic system settings, Kvantum Manager as well, and then just a variety of other tools. We have an ISO image writer on here. We have a wallet manager. We have a print manager, Octopi. Octopi is another application for adding software. Let's go ahead and have a look at what we see under here. So here's your basic group. So you can see it's kind of like the Pac-Man version of the Semantic Package Manager. So you can see that you can go by different package sorts. It's not super amazing, but if you know what packages you're looking for, you can easily do that. So that is what we have under our system here. So let's go ahead and test out that screen recorder on Wayland. Since I did not install that, they did that, and it's very interesting. So we're going to go ahead and just log out. So just log out of the system. And then this is going to drop us back down to our login screen, which I believe is SDDM. And down here, we can go up and we can go to Wayland, which is the default. So you can see here under Wayland, we are not full screen. And let's go back and set our screen settings. And we should go up to a 1920 by 1080. Hit apply, and you'll see that I'm just stuck with a gray screen. So full screening in Wayland in GNOME boxes on Linux Mint 20, what am I on, 21.3, 23, whatever the latest Linux Mint version is not working. So, okay, that's fine. We'll deal with that. But I really was curious about this. Let's see, under our, where was that under? Was that under Simple Screen Recorder? So it tells us here we're using a non-X system, currently not supported. Features likely will not work. And usually the thing that does not work is screen capturing. So you'll see that the screen capture is not working. So it's very interesting that it is a highly optimized system that ships with Simple Screen Recorder and defaults to Wayland. So you don't want that to happen. I don't know, you might have to hunt around for a screen recorder that's going to work by default. But once again, you'll see Wayland still has a few issues, and as distributions push too fast to go Wayland only, we are going to see a couple more bugs in the world of this. So that's really what our thoughts are on this. Overall, I think that this is a really great distribution to try out. And for sure, it's got a goal, it's got a focus, a couple little bugs here and there, but that's to be expected pretty much everywhere. That being said, however, this is a great distribution. If you really love the Qt framework and you really love Plasma, this might be one of the best implementations to go with because it strips out all of the other things and it just doesn't give you the option for packages that just are not going to work super well. And so with that, let me know your thoughts about KaOS. If you really like this distribution or if you really hate it, whatever, go ahead and let us know in the comments down there. Subscribe to the channel if you've not already done so, and we will see you guys in the next video.